I've seen this at festivals. It is very different when he's sitting next to me and he's just in my peripheral. That's an experience. And what I like so much about these films is that you start with a kind of cryptic object, and then from there, this kind of lore spills out, but it's not specific. I'm curious for you, when you're starting on a project like this, does it start with the object in your mind or the story?
It starts with the object. Yeah, I remember reading about Guillermo del Toro years ago talking about his writing process, and he said it nearly always started with some image, just a really strong image, and then almost building out the story around that. So I mean, even caveat, we had the drumming bunny. I think that was the first thing I thought of that, and then a sleepwalking harness, and in this it was a bit of a mishmash of stuff. A haunted desk bell that a bellboy is connected to, the wooden man, a character with a glass eye. Yeah, very much built about just what would be visually interesting, and then kind of going from there.
But when it comes to this, when you're telling your cast and crew, like, I want to build this thing, like, how does that progress? Do you have like source images? Do you make sketches?
It's funny because we didn't have much time to do them at all. I think from when I sat down with Paul McDonald, the designer, to him being molded and finished, I had done a few drawings, gave a few examples of what I'd like him to look like, sent them to Paul, and Paul was, "You're crazy. This can't be done we'd need 3 months to build this." So it was basically the way you see him now. It was just like this. It was over Zoom, and it was me in Ireland and down in Cork and Paul up in Galway, and he was just molding it. He was sculpting it on camera. And it was me going, okay, cut off his nose. Okay, put his nose back on. Just like this. So it was really done kind of one take kind of design, which is crazy when I think about it, for how well it turned out. But that's really down to Paul's, just Paul's talent. But he did tell me, if I'm going to do it, you're going to have to be very decisive. So there's no real, I've changed my mind. I wouldn't mind if he looked a little bit more like this. No, it was like, this is how he's going to look. I think one of the important things with it was just because horror is so important, or sound design is so important in a horror film. Just the idea of having him screaming was always going to be a big one. I think that's the thing that we did spend the most time on that day, was just how to get that frozen scream right. Because it would just mean if the way he looks, it just meant when we sat down to sound design it, we're just wide open for possibilities of how he can sound and what's coming out of him. But yeah, it was a little bit rushed, but it all worked out great.
When you were coming up with the concept of the wooden man, I'm curious how that idea initially sparked. Like, what were you looking at as kind of inspiration points of like things you might have sent to your designer to be like, I like this kind of idea, but not necessarily this idea?
Yeah, the Wicker Man's a good one, because it's that kind of, it's what would be your tool of revenge, or your weapon if you were a witch? What folklore are you using? And the Wicker Man is definitely a good reference, because there's stuff in that that's never really explained. Like, what are these rituals, or what exactly are they doing, or how does this work? It's a little bit like with the holes in the back of his head. I mean, there's items in there that are found somewhere just before the midpoint, and it's like, that's not explained, but it hints at something else that's going on. That some ritual or something has been performed off camera in the last week. And that's kind of a lot of what we talked about with the designers, or just with the film in general, that kind of tone of, it's folklore and it's witch, and none of it needs to be explained because none of it's real. So, but it does need to kind of create the sense that somebody knows how this stuff works.
I love that. It has to be evocative, but not necessarily spell it out for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never just need to see Darcy at home in a room full of candles and
rolling
creating
up photos.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just let it be found, and let the audience, let their imagination then go, oh, this is kind of unsettling because I don't understand what this is about. So just it's good for a conversation after the film then.
This is not real. As I've always believed, there's nothing that can't be explained.